What's up everyone? Welcome back to Living Survival. My name is Ben. Today we're going to take a look at another great knife from Battle Horse Knives. It's their Bushcrafter. Got the fire going and it is nice and toasty in here, so let's talk about the Battle Horse Knives Bushcrafter. Some specs first. You have an 1/8 of an inch 01 tool steel, 8 3/4 overall length with a cutting surface of 3 7/8 inches. You can get it in flat or Scandi grind. Again, Scandi grind is more multi-purpose in my opinion. If you're looking for just one grind that sort of does it all, Scandi is going to be the best bet. Not as high as a saber grind, not as thick on the cheeks. It goes right down to a 0 grind in most cases, meaning that it's going to be good for slicing. Also going to be good for doing things like batoning down wood, which is something that you've seen me do over and over again in knife review videos, not only to test the capability of the edge, make sure that the steel is properly heat treated, that it's not going to roll, but also because I use small kindling style wood to get my small portable stoves going. So that works the best for me. Close up there of the dirty blade. I have been using this knife for several weeks now. Still has a razor sharp edge on it there. Came razor sharp from Battle Horse down into the handle. Now you can get this handle in 3 separate colors. You can get it in a green, you can get it in a natural, or you can get it in a black. Beautiful looking there with 3 pins and a lanyard hole, rounded off on the end here with a sort of a choil here for your finger. Gives it a nice grip. No hot spots that I could find on this knife when I was carving, when I was batoning. It does all those tasks really well. Sharpened on the spine, so you can even use it with your ferrocerium rod. So it really has a lot going for it. Again, just sort of the SUV, sort of that do-it-all multi-purpose when it comes to a camp knife or a bushcrafting style knife. So when I'm testing a knife, I usually do the things that I most normally do when I'm out and about. One would, again, be batoning down small kindling sized pieces like this. You can hear how dry that is. Find a dead standing tree, and I usually pair this up with a small saw, the Silky F180, which I think is the best small saw from Silky. But then I can get to the inside of the wood. Outside of the wood can be a little wet, but the inside of this stuff is super dry. I can process it down as far as I want by batoning. Again, that saber grind bites into the edge of this, and with the straight grain of this particular wood, it has no problem splitting that stuff down. A little bit harder to get to the finer stuff with a saber grind, and a flat grind I find gets stuck. So again, multiple uses with that Scandi grind, and it's probably, again, the most versatile when it comes to a woodsman's knife. Now it feathers really well too. You got that Scandi grind, which is going to give you, it's going to bite right into that wood. You can see here, even just holding it in my hand, I'm able to get small little curls here. Generally wouldn't do it like this because it's not very stable, but the knife is very sharp, and you can get small little curls like that. This stuff will burn in a second here. Combo that with a piece of cotton or any other little flash tinder, this and the kindling there, and you're going to get your fire going in no time. Another thing I would do with a knife like this is make stakes. Often I leave the house and I try to remember stakes I've completely forgotten before and had to make, you know, 8 steaks for the perimeter of my teepees. Maybe I'm a few steaks short if I'm tying out extra lines, or if I want just a little bit extra security on a tent or a hammock or a tarp. So a lot of times my knife will be used to create a stake, and again, making notches, rounding off edges. You can get that finer control by choking up here. Now, one thing that would be nice is if the handle did go a little bit further up to the blade grind here. Usually I like the handle to just come pretty close, within a few, you know, 1/4 of an inch or so from the blade surface. You're losing a little bit of blade there. I noticed when I was batoning, you know, you can't put the log right up there. You do have to choke it back just a little bit. But, you know, for a smaller knife, it gets the job done. And I do like the handle. It didn't give me any hot spots. I just like to be a little bit closer to my work. I like to have that edge line right up with the top of my fingers here when I'm doing smaller work. So it gives me that finer control. Really no complaints at all in the handle department here. And again, I always, when there's a choice, go with the bead blasted. It gives it just a little bit more of a roughed up surface than the polish does. I like that because not only when dry does it give you a good grip. I'm not a huge glove guy. I don't really use gloves. Even in the winter time, I'll just use like fingerless gloves to keep, you know, the majority of my hand warm. You know, I've been out in the elements for my entire life. I've gotten frostbite several times, so my hands are pretty acclimated to the snow. But what happens when a polished knife gets wet, whether it be mud, rain, or let's say some snow, when that gets all wet like that, so you set it down in the snow, a polished knife is going to be very slippery. But this knife, very, very solid in your hand. It's actually a lot more solid with that bead blast when it gets wet. So that's what I really like about it. You can soak this thing down and it's really just going to stick right in your hand. You can see, you know, it's real hard for me to lose grip on this knife, and with the polished knife, you know, it tends to roll in my hand or slip a little bit. So when I have a choice, I'm always going to go with the bead blast. And doesn't that look nice there when you get it a little bit wet? Now it is 01, so you're going to want to, you know, take care of it if you get it wet. Make sure you keep it oiled. Sharpened wise, 01 tool steel has always been a pretty easy steel to sharpen. So overall, again, just sort of a multi-purpose, multi-use knife. If that's something that you're looking for, you know, this one would be a very good buy. Another thing I really like from Battle Horse is their sheaths. Now, they are basic sheaths. They're just pancake sheaths made out of leather, but they tend to use a little bit higher quality leather than some other companies out there. You know, their welts are done really well. They, you know, it just seems to be a little bit heavier duty. You can get it with or without a dangler. I usually like the dangler just so when I sit down, you know, if I'm sitting in a chair or something like that, the knife isn't going to stab right down into the chair. It can kind of dangle off to the side. You can also get it with a fire loop on it as well. Without the dangler, you know, you've got just your standard belt loop option there. Retention is pretty good even without the sheath being wet formed. You know, over time they get wet and you can sort of form them, or you can sort of, there's a lot of videos out there on how to wet form a sheath, but you know, this would be really nice wet formed. I'll probably do that. But even without that being the case, of course it is wet, so you're going to get a lot of retention there. But chances are you're not going to lose this knife. It does fit in the sheath really well. So a nice option there to get with your sheaths. I believe you can get Kydex as well, but for a knife like this, you know, I'm always going to go with the leather. Another thing I'm looking for when I review a knife is attention to detail. Does the handle have a very smooth transition into the blade? Are there any high spots or low spots? Same with the pins. Do they stick out? Are there any edges? And again, with this, it's flawless. Everything is really smooth. There's no jagged edges. Everything's rounded off. So again, really, really nice. Again, I'll look at the symmetry here between where the handles meet the blade there. Are they the same on both sides? Sometimes that will be off a little bit. And then of course, right up to the tip of the knife. Is that symmetrical or is it off to one side? No flaws that I can see in this knife, and again, that's what you're getting when you're going to pay for a higher quality knife. So this knife really performs well for the tasks that I put it through. Again, batoning, making feather sticks, making small little stakes and other little toggles. I don't do much trapping, so you know, I don't set up traps or anything like that, but this would be a good knife for something like that. You could also certainly use this for hunting. That Scandi grind again is going to let you slice meat. It would do a good job on processing game. So that's really what the appeal is to a knife like this, is that it's just a do-it-all. And if you're going to have one nice knife that you take out to the woods, this is certainly a top contender for that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Again, another great knife from Battle Horse Knives. You know, knives are a personal preference type of thing. I know I have my personal tastes, and those are the knives that I choose to show to you guys. But just like any other gear for the outdoor camping, hiking, survival, bushcrafting scene, you know, you really gotta pick what's gonna work for you. I like the bead blasted handles just because they seem to be a lot less slippery, not only when dry but also when wet and snowy conditions, rainy conditions, muddy conditions. I just like that bead blast, so it's nice that you can get it polished if you'd like, or you can get it bead blasted. They come in, I believe, natural, green, and black as far as the colors go. Top-notch construction, handmade in the USA with the 01 tool steel. So I'm going to put a link below to their website where you guys can check out this model as well as all their other models. I'm sure that I'll be reviewing a few more that I like from them. Again, just comes down to what your personal preference is and what you're going to be using the knife for. When it comes to grinds, I prefer a Scandi grind for all-around use, a saber grind more for when I'm taking out a wood stove. It just seems to baton a little bit better, and again, I baton mainly for the smaller portable wood stoves. It helps me get kindling faster than any other method, so that's what I prefer there. And I prefer a flat grind for if I'm going to be doing a lot of cooking. I prefer flat grinds in my folding knives for opening packages. So again, just comes down to personal preference, but it's nice to know that the options are available from Battle Horse Knives. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Please give it a big thumbs up for me. Make sure you leave me a comment in the comment section below. Please share this video on your social media with any of your friends and family who might be interested in taking a look at the Bushcrafter. And as always, if you haven't already done so, click that red subscribe button and don't miss that notification bell to be notified of new videos.